Hi guys. So I am going to share with you my ideas of how I would create this shed using the tools that we have available, okay? Because we're not doing this the way I had hoped we would do it, but I still think that we can create some cool things and apply what we've learned. So that's really the goal. So for this, you're going to need, let's start with the drawing that has just the sidewalls. We're just going to start with the simple sidewalls, okay? You're going to need your architectural ruler. You're going to need a straight edge ruler that you can draw nice straight lines with. I'm going to try tape, okay? That's what I'm going to try first. We'll see how that works. And a pair of scissors, and then the cardstock paper, okay? Because we're going to make our balsa wood boards or replicas of them using our cardstock paper. So our balsa wood boards that are for our model development are scaled dimensionally to represent 2x4s, okay? So it's going to be very, very challenging for us to actually make cardstock boards that represent a 2x4 because the 2-inch portion of that board is going to be very challenging to cut and build each individual board with the cardstock. So my thought was, let's go ahead and just measure the 4-inch portion of our 2x4, okay? So we'll mark off 4-inch boards all the way across our cardstock and we'll cut them. And so the thickness of the paper will represent our 2 inches of the board, which isn't really realistic, but the 4-inch scale of the board will represent the 4 inches of the board. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's talk about how many boards we need to start with, right? We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 2x4s that are 8 feet. And we need 4 that are this 9'4" measurement. So I can see by my paper that my paper is going to accommodate the lengths of all of those. So if I just cut 20 boards out of my paper, 24-inch boards out of my paper, I would be able to build these sidewalls. And I would be able to cut them to the proper length and assemble them and put them together. So that's how I'm thinking about going about this. I haven't done it yet. This is my first try. So I don't know how well it will work and we might have to modify our plan. So here we go. We're going to draw 4-inch boards. So remember, 4 inches, each of these are 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 inches. See how tiny 2 inches would be that we would try to assemble these? I guess it would be kind of interesting to try that. I might try that and show you what it would look like. But for now, I'm just going to cut these 4-inch boards, okay? And I'm going to mark 2 or 3 of them here. And then I'm going to cut 2 or 3 of them. And then I'm going to pause and I'm going to go ahead and make a bunch of them. But I wanted to show you what I'm talking about. Okay? I wanted to show you kind of what I'm talking about as far as what I'm thinking this looks like. And remember, we just need 20 for these 2 sidewalls, 20 boards. Okay? So right now, I need to go ahead and draw some nice straight lines. Okay. There we go. So now I have 3 4-inch boards drawn. Okay. That's kind of how I'm thinking we do this. And then I will go ahead and go ahead and draw the rest across. And then I will cut my boards out. So I want to cut carefully because the straight line is kind of important for working with these boards with our situation, right? Okay. So I want to make sure that when you build your model, you're representing the structure of the building, not just sticking these up as sidewalls like that. That's not going to fly for me. I want the structure of the building to be represented. Okay, so I've got 3 boards here, and I'm going to go ahead and draw the rest of the boards and cut the rest of my boards with this, and then I'm going to restart this video. So I made all of my boards, and let me show you. I have these right here. These are my 8-foot boards, and I marked them all with 8 feet. Those are all of my studs, okay? So, and then these are my sole plate and my top plate. These are my 9'4" pieces for the sidewalls. I also discovered when I was watching my previous video that I'd made an error in the sidewall, and I had my studs in the wrong places over here. I'd mismeasured or something, so I fixed that moving forward. And then I have, this is my top plate and my studs. So if you can see this like right here, that is kind of demonstrates what we're doing. And then as I was putting that together, I discovered that I also needed to mark my 16-inch centers. So I went along and I marked the center of my studs. And so I'm putting together my top plate and my sole plate like so. And I'm using a little bit of tape, and I'm making sure that I take some small pieces because I don't want them too thick, because I just want to kind of gently wrap them around. So let me show you what that kind of looks like. And this is a little bit of tedious, right? So I'm going to put those ends together of my, this is now my sole plate and my end. Okay. And then I'm going to put this one together on this side. Carefully. And so now I just have to put in my walls. Now, the thing about a wall is you want it to be square, right? We want it to not be like that. So we want it to be square, and we want to think about what that means. And if we remember the Pythagorean theorem, we know that the hypotenuse of a triangle is one side squared plus the other side squared, so that the hypotenuse is squared as well. So let me write that down so that I don't confuse you, because I think I said that a little bit strangely. So if we have a right triangle, I'm just going to sketch it here so you can think about it. We have a right triangle. That wasn't a very good drawing. So if I have a right triangle like so, and this side I label A, and this side I label B, and this side I label C, then I know that A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? So for my drawing, if I think about the side of my shed, this line that goes from corner to corner, this is a rectangle, and I want this corner to be a right angle. So this line that goes from corner to corner on my shed is really the hypotenuse of my triangle. And also another attribute of a rectangle that you'll remember is that the diagonals of a rectangle are of equal length. So it doesn't matter whether I pick this triangle or this triangle, they should both have right angles. So as we do this, I want you to think about the fact that the measurement of the diagonal across has to be a certain measurement in order to make it square. And so what that needs to be is, because our A is 8 feet, right? And our B is 9 feet 4 inches. So 4 is 0.33 feet, right? So we're going to have 8 squared plus 9.33 squared equals C squared in order to have our triangle, right triangle. So 9.33 times itself is 87.05. I know 8 squared is 64. 8 times 8. So 87.05 equals C squared. So 64 plus 87.05. So C squared equals 151.05. Well, I have to take the square root in order to find out what C is. So if I'm going to take the square root of 151.05, so C equals 12.29, which is super close to 12.3, which I might say is probably super close to 12 feet 4 inches. Okay, in a ballpark kind of way. So we're going to see. I'm going to want to kind of think what I'm going to want to do is tape my corner. So I'm going to look at this, and I want to make my diagonal. I'm going to tape my corner so that when I put my ruler here, I get 12.3. And it's going to be a little bit. So there's my 12, or 12.4, sorry. Okay. So I'm going to kind of tape, I like it that way. I'm going to kind of tape my corner that way. See if I can't get it to stay there. Okay. Do my best. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to try to tape another corner. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but that's what I'm going to try. Okay. And then, so this one. It's pretty good, right? Whoops. It's pretty good right there. So this is the challenging part of this. And again, let's just do the best we can. We're working in unusual circumstances, and I think it's pretty cool that we're working at it. Okay. So in the end, we want these to be, the diagonal to be 12 and 4 inches across. Okay. And I might, yeah. All right. So now I'm going to take my 8-footers, and I've got these 9'4" ones marked everywhere. So I'm going to put I need to cut my tape down a little bit. It's too big. So I'm going to put in my 2x4s. Okay, so there's one. And obviously this is different than how we would do it if we had the balsa wood, but that's okay. We're being creative and we're finding solutions to our problems, which is also really important. So I'm just going to tape these in the top at each of my marks. Then I'm going to tape them in the bottom. Okay. Trying to get tape that isn't too big. That's kind of my tricky spot right there. I want to make sure I'm using my 8-footers, so because they won't work. They'll be too long if I use my ones that are 9'4". Okay. And maybe I'll measure the diagonal again when I'm done manipulating all of these, and make sure that my diagonal is 12 feet 4 inches on each side, each diagonal. Okay. And then after I'm done building this, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and do your best on the rest of this. I'm going to make a short section that talks a little bit about the header on the door, and I might make one of the roof trusses. Okay, so you can see how those go together. And you know, I don't expect these to be perfect. I think that doing your best work does not always mean that it's perfect. Sometimes it means that you've done your best work in situations that are less than ideal. So, but I do expect you to put some effort in. I expect you to document how you did it. I would like to see you do a little bit of a video. You don't have to do a really long video, but, and I would like some pictures as you go as to how this works for you. So I've done the top, right? I've done one side, and now I'm going to do the other side. So I'm going to put these with my marks on the other plate. Uh-oh, did I lose one? I may have. I'll have to fix that. Okay. Like so. Like so. See how it's not square at all right now? We're going to have to fix that. So, because we can't have a wall that's not square. And that's a really important feature of building, is that we're working with square walls and square foundations, and everything has to be square or your building will not stand. Okay? So, and obviously it makes it much more difficult that we're working with cardstock instead of actual wood. But that's okay. We're going to keep working at it here, because I'm kind of hard-headed, actually. Okay. Now, and then my last one did fall off. You see how that fell off there? So the tape is still on it, but I think I need to put another piece of tape on it, probably. So I wonder if I might need to put a corner piece in these to help them stay where they're supposed to be because of their lack of that one's not staying where it's supposed to be, is it? Oh, neither is that one. Ah, okay, it's all right. Here we go. It's kind of like putting together Legos. Sometimes it doesn't work very well. Okay. Okay. And one more here. Now, I think what I might do, I'll show you guys. I'm probably going to pause it to do it so that it doesn't take quite so long videoing it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some corner pieces that I can tape into my corners and make them structurally a little more rigid so that it holds its shape and is a square for us, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and draw those and cut them out, and then I'll show you what I mean. My idea to make some corner supports to put in the corner of the wall didn't really work very well. And so I'm just going to hold off until I get more of my wall assembled. And not more of my wall, but more of my building assembled. Because I think that once There's supports to put things together, the corners, and structurally make it more of a building rather than just a single wall. It will be better. So I would encourage you, you're going to have some patience with putting this together. And I can see right now that I think this one might be a little bit too long, or I don't have it taped in properly. And it might not be perfect. Oh, that looks a lot better, doesn't it? Okay, so keep working at it. I'm going to go ahead and put together the roof truss. I'm going to talk a little bit about the headers. So let's talk about the doors, the door and the window quickly. So you're going to want to make sure you cut a board that is, instead of 4 inches wide for the header. I think because it's going to be difficult to kind of tape them together. I think they're 6 inches. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think they're 6. What is this one? Maybe this one isn't quite 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to want to make them the proper size or the appropriate size for your header. That's what I would do. And then the other thing, when you go to put this together, you want to take a look at this, and here's your top plate, but then there's also a 2x4 over the top of that, and you can see how it overhangs here, and you're going to put your walls together with that. So in other words, when you put this, you're going to slide this wall underneath that and tape them together that way, okay? And that will help you put them together. And then your trusses will go on the top, and your trusses should go from the front to the back and on your 16-inch centers. Okay, so as for the truss, I have the truss drawing right here, and so I cut some new boards that are the appropriate length for the pieces of my truss. And the one thing about building the truss is you have metered edges, which are cut on a diagonal. So in other words, I'm going to have to, in order to put this together, I'm going to have to cut on that one, and I'm going to have to cut on this one. And now, if we were actually doing this with balsa wood, I have a cutter that would put the proper angle on that. Or if you were doing this in the real world, you would have a cutter and you would know what your angle was. Because this is a bit of a challenge for us with the materials that we have, do the best you can. Try to make it realistic, and we're just kind of go with it that way. So let's see. I think that when we put the trusses together, the 2-inch direction would go upright, and the 4-inch direction will go like looking at it just like it is. So I'm going to go ahead and try it that way. I need to cut my tape down a little bit. Okay, you're going to have patience for this task, for sure. Okay, I'm having to have patience. That's okay, it doesn't hurt me at all. It doesn't hurt you at all to have a little patience. Okay, and then I'm going to line it up with my drawing and try to get it the same as my drawing. If we actually had the proper materials, we would be better off, but we don't. So we're going to do that, and then I have the same thing going on here with my bottom piece, right? I'm going to have to trim it so that it goes together properly, right? So I'm going to kind of sketch in my line there. And again, if we had the proper materials, and we would be taking much more care with how we created that angle and put this together. Okay. I actually have some really cool tools that I got for us to use for this, so it's kind of a bummer that we don't get to, but perhaps in the future, right? There's always the future. Okay, I'm going to put that together like so. It might, you might be able to get a parent or a sibling to help you hold some of the pieces. That might be helpful. I'm not sure. I don't have anybody here to try that out, but I might do that if I did, to see if they could help me kind of hold pieces as I put them together. Okay, because now my tape is not cooperating with me. And you might be able to make a jig. You know what a jig is? A jig is something that you kind of put together that helps you frame up your pieces. And okay, and then if you'll notice, the ends of these are upright. They're vertical, right? So, so I also need to think about trimming that like so, so that it looks like, you know, your roof line. Right, because that's how our roofs look. They have a little bit of an overhang, right? Okay, so now I have my inside pieces, and again, I'm gonna have to trim these. So hopefully I made them long enough. This is gonna be the tricky part, but I think that's gonna work. So I'm probably gonna trim it like so. So maybe you have better ideas to do this, but I wanted to share with you my thoughts, and you can take them and run with them, or you can come up with your own thoughts. But you need to make sure you show me the structure of the building, and as much as you can. Okay, there we go. And then these guys go here, right? And again, I'm gonna have to kind of trim them up. I would do that with a saw, or with our balsa wood, we would do it with a cutter. I have a cutter that we would do it with. But we're gonna have to do it with scissors, which is okay, right? It's hard to grab for me. Hard time grabbing it. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in there and that in there. Okay. And our final one is this guy. And then we have one of our trusses built. So, and you know, the other thing I was thinking would be super cool to do would be to go to the truss company in Redmond, because you'll see they have jigs. They have computerized jigs actually. These are super cool. So they have a production line. When they make trusses, that's all they do is build trusses, and they have these computerized jigs. So maybe they build, 20 trusses that are a certain style, and then for another part of a house or another part of a building, that for the job they're doing, they might have to modify the truss, and they have a computerized jig operation. It's very cool. So it might be something that in the future we're able to take a trip out there and check it out, because it's very cool. So here's my truss, okay? Finished truss. I have a truss and I have a wall, right? One of these walls. So this is a side wall, remember? So you're gonna have, so here's a side wall. This is gonna be the front of your building. And your truss, you're gonna have a truss for the front and the back of your building. And then you're gonna have a truss for each stud. So as you go back, okay? So you're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're gonna have 8 of these trusses that run back the length of your building, okay? So again, this is a side, I don't have the front done, but it would be something like this, okay? Okay, I'm gonna let you guys work on this, and then I want you to do some videoing. There's not very, very long videos. You can video the start of your project, the end of your project, a little bit about your challenges. Obviously, you've seen some of my challenges, but I think these are gonna be super cool, and I appreciate you guys taking on the challenge. Okay.